For decades, Johnny Depp was one of the most adored cinematic icons on the planet. Then, over the course of a few brutal years, his reputation was incinerated in the court of public opinion. We know the characters he played, but the man hiding behind them is much more complex. To survive watching his own legacy burn to ash, Hollywood's ultimate chameleon had to strip away his protective masks and expose his true self. After a lifetime spent inhabiting other people, Depp reached a point where no character or costume could save his reputation. John Christopher Depp II grew up in constant, chaotic motion. By the time he was 15, his family had packed up and moved nearly 40 times across various working-class towns in Kentucky and Florida. Home offered no stability. His mother, a waitress working double shifts, was deeply unpredictable and violent. He later detailed the physical beatings and psychological cruelty he and his siblings endured at her hands, dodging ashtrays and telephones on a regular basis. He found an exit route in music, dropping out of high school to play guitar and eventually moving west. Acting wasn't his goal, but a chance introduction to Nicolas Cage led to an accidental Hollywood debut in the 1984 horror film A Nightmare on Elm Street. He used the acting roles to cover his unpaid bills while keeping his own history at a distance. Television quickly turned him into a manufactured teen idol on 21 Jump Street, a status he actively despised. He fought back by rejecting standard macho leading man roles, seeking out the bizarre, the broken, and the gentle outsiders. He found a perfect creative partner in director Tim Burton. Their extensive collaborations allowed Depp to use elaborate makeup and gothic aesthetics to safely conceal his real-world anxieties inside highly eccentric personas. When Disney cast him in a movie based on a theme park ride, executives were terrified by his take on Captain Jack Sparrow. It was a slurring, heavily improvised performance, modeled after rock stars, and the massive artistic risk pushed him into global megastardom. By completely rejecting standard industry formulas and leaning fully into his identity as an outsider, he became the highest-paid actor on the planet. The momentum stalled in the 2010s. A string of expensive, big-budget studio projects underperformed at the box office, right as a bitter lawsuit revealed extreme mismanagement by his financial handlers, leaving him severely in debt. To cope with his collapsing personal life, his reliance on alcohol and drugs escalated. This period of intense vulnerability coincided with a rapidly deteriorating, highly volatile marriage to actress Amber Heard. The tension exploded into the public eye when a British tabloid branded him an abuser. He sued for libel, but following a brutal trial at the High Court in London, a judge ruled against him, dealing a massive blow to his reputation. The professional fallout was immediate. Warner Bros. Asked him to resign from the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and Disney quietly shelved his involvement in future Pirates of the Caribbean films. This chart tracks the collapse of his professional world. One axis shows his $650 million fortune evaporating, while the other axis shows his active major studio franchise roles dropping to zero between 2016 and 2020. The same Hollywood machine that had spent decades monetizing his eccentric behavior completely severed ties the exact moment that behavior became a public relations liability. With nothing left to lose in the studio system, he filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit in Fairfax County, Virginia. Submitting himself to absolute public exposure was a massive gamble, but it was his final attempt to clear his name. Over 6 grueling weeks, cameras broadcast every hour of the trial. He took the stand and detailed the physical abuse he suffered as a child, stripping away his privacy to speak openly about his long struggles with addiction. After reviewing the evidence, the jury delivered their verdict. They found he had been defamed with actual malice, awarding him over $10 million in damages. The proceedings gripped the internet. Millions of people watched the raw testimony and rallied to his defense online, sparking a massive cultural conversation about due process and acknowledging male victims of domestic abuse. The trial concluded with a permanent public record that traded his cinematic mystique for a high-definition view of his unscripted life. When the trial ended, he didn't wait for a major studio to offer him a movie. He bypassed Hollywood entirely, picking up his guitar and touring alongside musician Jeff Beck to reconnect with his very first creative sanctuary. By 2023, he made his return to cinema, premiering the French-language drama Jean du Barry at the Cannes Film Festival. He was met with a deeply emotional 7-minute standing ovation. He has now shifted focus to the independent sphere, stepping behind the camera to direct the feature film Modi. He is financing and building projects strictly on his own terms, outside the reach of the traditional studio system. A corporate machine can drain accounts, strip away your franchise roles, and cancel your contracts. But if you hold tight to the raw truth of who you are, the art survives.